And your work is raising a question that's fundamental right here on the planet. How do we communicate with each other in a more effective way?
I remember something one of my professors, my advisors from graduate school, he was talking about people who study like other ancient texts and things. And he said, well, people tell me it's so hard to translate this medieval Chinese text, and we're never kind of quite get it right. And then he would say, well, think about like English. Like we can't even read Beowulf because it's an earlier version of English. So earlier, we don't even call it English. It's Anglo-Saxon, right? And even if we read something like Shakespeare and you read it with a critical edition, you'll see all the words you think you know down in the footnotes. It'll say, well, that word didn't actually mean that back then. It meant something different. And then he would go on to say that when even you and I, Bernie, when we're talking, we don't even know that we're communicating. So the point is that it's not any more difficult to read something that's in a foreign language. It's probably more difficult because you and I assume that we understand each other when we're talking, because we're like, oh, we're using the same language, we're living in roughly the same place, we've had very similar experiences, we've got all points of contact. If you're reading something that's foreign, then you're thinking a great deal about what does that word mean? Like, why is the text telling me that? Or why did the person write it down? So there's a lot more intentionality in the communication than there is when we just naturally, and my favorite example is when I talk with my wife, who we've been together for more than 40 years, and we should perfectly understand each other all the time. But we don't, right? Because it has become too taken for granted that when we communicate, we don't think as much about what the other person is saying and what the intention might be and why we're saying what we're saying, because you just get relaxed and you're like, oh yeah, we know what we're talking about.
That's a beautiful example, Brannon. I'm advocating for an advance in the way we communicate, which includes not just gets rid of language, but uses language as a conveyor belt into the mind of the other person, so that what I'm imagining, the movie I'm running in my mind, can be communicated to you in present